Rev up your engines! Well, I just got back from a fantastic vacation in Moab, Utah, the unbelievable desert scenery. Back to the airport in Nashville, and what greets me there? A flat tire at 9:30 at night. But I'm prepared, and you should be too. Pop the trunk, getting old and slow. And what's inside? Voila! An air pump. Out it comes. I was prepared, so I just pumped it up and drove home. Now it's still got 20 psi in it. It's supposed to be like 32, so it's a slow leak. I'm going to show you how you can fix them yourself. Jack the car up in the air so the tire's off the ground. The trunk, at least I remember where I put the stupid thing. It's over here somewhere. There it is. That's so people can't steal them easy. They could still steal them if they really wanted to, but what the heck. It's on there. Off it comes. Now the first thing we're going to do is look for obvious things like a nail. Now here's something that looks weird, but I don't think it went the whole way through. Screwdriver, and it's just a little pebble rock. It didn't make a hole, so we'll continue to look. Slowly roll the tire and look at everything. See if you see nail, piece of glass, a rip, tear. I don't see any yet. As I go the whole way, all right, I still don't see anything. So we'll go to stage 2. I've made up a bunch of soapy water and dishwashing liquid. We're going to pour it all over the tire to see if it foams up anywhere where there's a leak. So here we go. We'll pour it all over the tread and look for foam. And be sure to use lots. As we look, we don't see any bubbles foaming up anywhere yet. We'll pour some on the rim. Sometimes they leak on the rim, and you would see bubbling coming out the rim. Pour water on this side. Same thing, and we'll check to see if it's bubbling anywhere. There's always bubbles that come out of it, but there's no new foamy bubbles coming out here either. I can see my wife's at the curb a few times, but what the heck, it's not leaking. Now granted, it's a slow leak, but the tread doesn't have a hole, it's not bubbling. Neither rim does, but there's one more thing you can check, and that's this, the valve stem itself. They can leak, so let's pour some water on this. Let's look at it. Look. It's bad. That's the problem. You probably wouldn't have found that in 1,000 years. And probably I wouldn't have thought about it either except for one thing. A couple years back when I was in Houston, a company that did mobile car tire replacement, they came to your house, gave me a set of tires, and I made a video and said, hey, look, here's what you can do. They'll come to your house and give you tires. And me 4 beautiful Michelin tires. I love them, no problems at all. But I wish they would have put better valve stems in. They put new ones in, but they put in cheap ones. As you can see, this one's leaking. Now, even I can't do this because I don't have a tire machine. I don't do tires. I don't buy and sell tires. So I got to go to a tire store and I'll just say I need a new valve stem. You got to take the tire apart and then put a new valve stem on. There are some machines that can actually shoot them in, but hardly anybody has that. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll see if it's fixed. So I went to Tennessee Tire, they popped the old stem out and put a new one in for only $7. So we get the tire out of the truck, out it comes. Still do it with one hand, I'm not dead yet. Well, now we're back at the car. Here's what's left of the valve stem. It rips when you pull them apart. Let's see if this one's leaking. I hope not. So we'll take off the cap, pour a little fluid on it, and is it hissing? No. It's fixed. Now tap it like this. You want water out of there because if it freezes in the winter, the water will let all the air when the ice expands, so make sure it's dry. My original cool chromed cap, and put that back on so we don't forget, so dirt doesn't get in there and create a problem. So we'll roll the tire over, hook it up, just start putting the lug nuts on. We'll first put them on finger tight so they're flush. Need a couple of them to start out with, so it's on even and not cockeyed. If you wiggle a little while you're doing it, it goes on easier. Yeah, that's tight. That's tight. We'll do the other 3. Now when you put it back on, you don't want to use an impact wrench. It can warp. You want a torque wrench then. Now if you got a long bar, you can get them tight as you can with your hand. Yeah, it's okay. But if you want to be a fanatic and do it right, this is a torque wrench. We'll set it at 80 foot-pounds. That's what this is for, the lug nuts, 80 foot-pounds. So you can see here, there's calibrations. We want foot-pounds. That's Newton meters. There's foot-pounds. So we want it on 80. So we'll turn it till it's on 80. That's 30. Keep turning it, 70, keep turning it, 0, 80, there we go. This way it's not too tight, where you can't get it off because of an impact wrench, or too loose it's going to fall off. And then once you're done, of course, turn the wrench and turn it back to 0. They'll keep their settings. You don't want to leave it compressed. Put it back to 0. And since we only did one tire, and who knows whose pressure gauges are worth what, we'll check them to see if they're the same. First we'll check the front, which wasn't leaking. Check this one, and it says 31.5 pounds, which is fine. So now I go to the one that we just had fixed, and they filled it up, but you never know how accurate anyone's gauges is compared to yours. So I'll check that. It's 34.5, so we'll let some out. Only trust your own gauge. They're only accurate to themselves. You never know with other people. You want all your tires the same. So we'll let some out of this until it's 31.5. But just let some out. 33, gotta let some more out. 31.5, it's perfect. And of course, check the other side. They were both 31.5 too. So now you know they're all the same. You can check them once in a while. Now, on cheap old cars, it's a 20-year-old Lexus. It doesn't have a tire pressure monitoring system. Hey, my '07 Matrix doesn't either. If you have a tire pressure monitoring system, it would have warned you the tires are low. But realize this, if you had to replace that stem, then instead of just paying somebody $7, you got to pay them to take it apart, then put a new valve stem tire pressure monitoring system part that costs $100 or more. Then it has to be reprogrammed, so you're going to spend a lot of money. I kind of like just checking them myself with the gauge and not dealing with all that computer crap. If you do have it, at least it will warn you. Just realize if your valve stem's leaking, it's going to cost a lot more, $750 to replace it. I like old technology. So what have we learned? If you don't want to get stranded, hey, put a tire pump in your trunk. Keep it there. And if you do get a flat, hey, water and dishwashing liquid can go a long way towards helping you find the culprit and fix it. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Well, the dealerships keep ripping people off. Well, here's an email from one of your viewers. I just left Crestview Ford in Crestview, Florida. I was looking at a 2022 F-250 Platinum. They had the nerve to put a $30,000 market adjustment on the truck. It was in stock form, no lift or wheels, etc. It went from $79,800 to $122,225. Wait till time passes on. The recession comes and people aren't buying cars, and they're going to remember, hey, those guys at that Ford dealer, they wanted to rake me over the coals. Charged me $122,000 for a vehicle that's supposed to be $79,000. $79,000 is bad enough for a pickup truck, right? Hey, keep those things coming, and I'll keep telling everybody else about them. Now, everybody on the planet can notice what this particular dealer was doing. Joey B says, which scan tool should I get? There's so many scan tools out there. Which one should I get? Depends on how far you want to go. There's 4 basic types of scanners. There's basic OBD2 that give you some data, all codes. You can erase the codes, and they're basic ones to give you basic information. And you can get them for as little as $38, and they work perfectly fine for what they do. Then there's 4 system scanners, an in-depth of 4 different systems. Usually it's the ECM, ABS, SRS, and automatic transmission. Those go quite a bit further, and sometimes you can get decent ones for $150 or so that do quite a bit of information. Then there's all system scanners that do all kinds of stuff. For that kind of money, those are the best ones for if you're real serious, and those will go anywhere from like $300 to $600. You get all kinds of info on them, right? And then, of course, there's bidirectional scanners that do testing back and forth. Those are the real expensive ones if they do a lot of bidirectional. A lot of people say, oh, this is bidirectional, and it's only $250, but you find out it does a couple of cars, a couple of things. The real ones that do a lot of them, they start at $2-3 grand, they go up to like $12,000. Those are for professional mechanics. But if you're a real techie guy and you want to mess around with stuff like that, there are some decent ones out there that you can get for as little as like $800 that do quite a bit. If you're real serious about working on cars, realize mechanics charge $150 to $200 an hour labor nowadays. So if you really want to learn how to fix your car, maybe it's not that bad of an idea. You got all those levels, and you got to decide which level you want to buy, and then go from there. I got a video on how to buy scan tools. You can watch that and get some more information. But those are the 4 basic ones. You see how far you want to go and how much money you want to spend. Well, if you saw it, Star Wars has come to the real world, in this case Michigan, where a guy's riding a hoverbike. They're basically flying drones, They don't even got a plasma drive. They're just a giant drone with batteries spinning around. Interesting enough, it was a Japanese-made vehicle called Airwinds Technology, and they did it at a Detroit airport because, of course, it was for the Detroit Auto Show. I guess they wouldn't let them fly it around inside the show. They were worried it was going to kill people, right? The X-Turismo hoverbike can reach speeds of 62 miles an hour, carry loads up to 220 pounds, and can fly for 40 minutes. I'm sure it doesn't fly for 40 minutes if you're going 62 miles an hour, because I've tried out electric motorcycles, and if they said they had a range of 150 miles, when you went at higher speeds, they had a range more like 50 miles before they ran out of power. Electric motors, the faster they go, the less efficient they are. The test rider said he felt like a little kid again flying around on this toy that the Japanese make. So there are now hover bikes around, just like in Star Wars, except they probably have a lot shorter range than the ones that they used in the movie. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.